Good evening, Super League fans. Thank you for joining us on this, the longest day of the year. I think it is right to. It's correct to say that. Anyone knows better, then feel free to correct me. We've got Ryan joining on the co-commentary tonight. Good evening, Ryan.
Good evening, Martin. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. I'm very impressed with the bird song you've got in the background. It must be must be nice to be in a position where you can do outdoor co-com. So you're outdoors at the moment.
Yeah, I'm out in my outback shack. For those in the Super League group, I've put a picture in there. So I've got the live stream on the big screen. And I've got Skype in my hand. Yeah, I'm excited for a Super League extravaganza. And if I'm not mistaken, I will correct you. I think the summer solstice was yesterday. But
Oh, I'm not really into. For some reason in Denmark it's on the 23rd. We don't. I don't know. I think. Is there any Swedish people here? They seem to know these things. Andreas will know for sure because they have like a genuine proper like midsummer festival kind of thing going on. But you are probably right. I think it's probably the night it's from the 20th to the 21st or something like that. Is that when it happens?
I don't know exactly when the date was. I just remember listening on the news earlier.
Right. Okay.
Um, Andreas is saying Midsummer was on Friday,
Yeah. Ian
but
says yesterday was the longest day.
yeah,
Yeah, either way, in
I
Denmark,
mean usually I would say that Ian Edwards is dead wrong, but I think he's actually right in that
it's
regard.
quite possible. Either way, in Denmark we celebrated on the 23rd, so there we go. I'm not entirely sure why, but not probably not important either. As everything was covered so comprehensively in the midweek show, I think we'll just have a little bit of a quick, very very quick review of the results from last week. Not dwell on it too long, as you'll be pleased to hear. Not the best result for you lot at home to Midlothian. What specifically went? I mean, it's hard to say anything went wrong because you're the better team on ratings, but what was the downfall of Phoenix in that game?
It's hard to put the finger on, but if from looking back at the cons, it just never looked like we maintained any long like period of pressure. It seemed to be, I think Ian kind of mentioned it was kind of back and forward for the entire game. They took their chances. They've got a better, more consistent goalkeeper than me, and yeah, give them that. They deserve the well, maybe not deserved is quite generous, but they took their chances and they got the win. Um, it's just not clicked for us this season the way it did do last season. Maybe I've been messing around with the tactics a little bit too much, but you got to keep trying things, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah, we'll come good, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hopefully. I have to do a super quick check. Uh, yes, that is the new one, I think. I just, for some reason, I doubted myself there because Ian, because Ian submitted he sent his taxes file over, but for some reason it got stuck in the email server or whatever. I asked him to resend it and it came through twice, and I was like, did I actually do that? But I think I definitely did. I think I definitely did. Um, Anyway, we'll have a quick look at the table before we dive into the action. Ardsley, very impressive. I mean, and I think was it 3 or 4 games he's won? 4 games on the trot. That's 1-0 victories for Ardsley Celtic. I don't know. Secret to his success. What do you think, Ryan?
He's his tactics working. His players must be in high morale. He's consistent, and they say 4-1 wins. He's obviously, despite not having a midfield, his defense is rock solid. So yeah, you look at the goals scoring against, and Valen have scored more and conceded less. Churchtown have scored 9 more goals, but you only have to win by a margin of one to get the 3 points, and Hodges boys seem to be doing that at the moment.
Yeah, it's just as it seems as if they took a little bit of time to actually sort of like settle down in that formation because he hasn't changed a lot since the first 3 games of the season, which were completely different. Obviously, a heavy defeat at Valen, Although I think a little bit unlucky. I think it was 2 goals in the last, was it in 90 minutes or something like that. He conceded two. Yeah, 2 goals in almost in overtime. But apart from that, it's been plain sailing ever since those first games where he conceded the vast majority of the goals. Obviously, only conceded three in the last 7 games. So yeah, as you say, there he's definitely found something that seems to be working for him. Then we've got Val and Churchtown, who were there or thereabouts last year as well. So perhaps not a huge surprise there. Midlothian doing better than they were last season. Anything that surprised you about their performance? I mean, you beat them earlier on in the season, didn't you?
No, no, they
Oh
beat
no, that
us
was the last one.
last
Sorry,
week.
no, you got beat recently. But they what I was referring to was the two. Oh, it was against Churchtown and Ballon. They had two. They struggled in the first 2 games of the season. But then I think they ditched the 5 man at the back, and they've been kind of doing pretty well since then.
Yeah, I think Ian's he's listened to Neil quite a lot. I think and that's what he's done really. He's kind of realised himself that he's not good enough on his own to manage a Super League team, so that's why he's brought the help in, and he's basically listening to the help. Really, that's why we've got an improvement. They've got a solid team there. They should have been up there with a decent manager. They were up there last year, but that's why this season there's been a big difference because they've got in Athens they've got an assistant manager running the club.
Which was something that Bolton were accused of last season to some extent when it was made clear that Big C Mac was halfway pulling the strings and was in the frame for the Panathinaikos job as well. So it's interesting to see what effect the assistant manager can have on the club because obviously your fortunes have been a little bit less good since he left, but Panathinaikos not necessarily done much better, but Dragons have brought in an assistant manager as well, of course, as have Hooligans, and they haven't really seen their fortunes turn around that much this season. What do you? I mean, the kind of mid-table ish is roughly the same. Astra a little bit underperforming, but we saw maybe some signs of improvement last week. What do you make of Hornets being all the way down there? They were quite close to making the playoffs at the end of last season, and they're perhaps the surprise package down at the bottom, looking at the last season's results.
Yeah, Craig struggles in midfield, and he's been trying to mess around with his strikers. I think the more he sticks with Batistuta and Sizalco up front, the more games he's going to win. The more he sticks with this 4-1-3-2, I think the more he's going to win. When he seems to mess around and try different formations, and I think Luca Toni up front and things like that, it doesn't seem to work out for him. So I think when he goes back to basics, that's when he starts to put a run together. You can see they've not conceded too many. I think they conceded the least in the outside the playoffs, but what do you call it? They're just not scoring. And he just needs Batistuta to start turning up. And if he gets Batistuta and Tizalco turning up, then they'll start charging up the table.
Yeah, you can't have 9 goals in 10 games and expect anything other than kind of a bottom-ish position. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes tonight. Obviously, we have got a range of interesting fixtures coming up. We start with the early bedtime derby. So for Alf, our senior citizen, I don't want to insult anyone unnecessarily, and obviously Andreas with the time difference. So they'll have the benefit of being first up. We'll skip your match with Chutley. We'll have that at the end, and then we've got Hornets against Hooligans. Interesting to see if Hornets can get a win here and catch up a little bit with the teams in front of them. Midlothian are at home to Dragons, which, I mean, the battle of the Scottish assistant managers. If it's true what you say, that is Neil, and it is in perhaps Boise pulling the strings at Dragons, respectively, then it could be interesting to see how that one pans out. You would say on paper, Midlothian probably favourites in that one. The other ones are maybe a little bit more even. Panathinaikos at home to Ardsley. Panathinaikos not really at the best run of form. I think have they lost 3 games? 1-0. Yeah, they've
Yeah, they've
lost
got
three
three
one
games won.
3-0. Three
They're
games
doing the
they've lost
opposite.
1-0 in a row,
So
and Arsenal
if
won for 1-0.
Ardsley have won for, yeah, so that's you
It
can
should
need
be
to
a
bet on
nailed
what
on should be nailed on 1-0 away win there, shouldn't it?
you'd expect. So
Yeah, then we've got Sloths at home to BTEC. Sloths really need to start like not losing all their games and just generally being a little bit better. But the same could be said for BTEC. They haven't lost as many games as Sloths, obviously, but again, a lot was said about the BTEC squad, and it's just not come together for Ian yet. But we'll see if that changes tonight. I
He
think
needs
they're
a Scottish assistant manager, doesn't he? And that would change
as
his spot.
and last but not least, before the Bolton Chudley game, we've got Swindon Devils against Churchtown. Obviously, a bit of mind games going on in that one with Kieran being out earlier this week, saying that there's no way that Fife is keeping a clean sheet in that one. And I think both managers have gone quite attacking, so it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out with five forwards on either side and not that many defenders. But yeah, that's second to last up this evening, and then of course we've got Bolton Phoenix against Chudley Cannons in the last game, with Chudley with a big chance of closing the gap on the playoffs, and obviously you lot looking at picking up 3 points and keeping the pressure on. Let's go to Asta first then. Asta Athletic against Ballin United. There we go, and we've got Ballin, of course, in their away kit. Astro Athletic formation is the same as it was last week. It's a good old Alf 1 formation. He's got Materazzi in, Giuliano in the midfield. I think he's got Babel in there in kind of the central DMC role. Is that right? I think so. I think
Yeah.
it's to kind of maybe square up to Totti a little bit and control it in that way. What do you make of it? Hasselbank is not starting. Did he not score last week? Who scored last week? Can't remember. Oh, no, it wasn't Hasselbank. Either way, he's got very low morale. Maybe that's why. What do you make of Astor's lineup? Vicente is the mystery man tonight.
Yeah, it seems like it's a bit of a reserve team for Alf, really. Obviously, with the exception of Boyer and Vogel and Lerman. He just seems to be chopping and changing his squad each week. Obviously, he's not really captured the same form he had last season. He's stuck with the tactic, but he's not sticking with the players. I think he's got to stick with Lerman in net, because anytime he puts anyone else in, he looks very vulnerable. I think I don't want to go over old news kind of thing, but the issue that a lot of people have mentioned with Alf is going to be his strikers scoring goals, and I think Bruggink's probably got more than his strikers combined over the last season and a half. So that's going to be the issue.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it plays out. Babel definitely into to I think nullify the threat from Totti possibly. Materazzi and Giuliano at the back, not a bad pairing. Vogel's obviously done a lot better, and he's captain tonight, done a lot better here than he did at BTEC, Biscan as well. So we'll see.
Is Babel a DMC, or is he just a defender?
Just a defender.
Right, so he's you might say playing out of position, but just to cover Totti.
That's the theory apparently. So we'll see how Valen lines up and see if Totti is there, and he is indeed running down the middle. He's keeping everything in the same. Oh no, he's not actually. He's got Del Piero on instead of Luis Saha, and Keane is suspended, and he's got Battaglia coming in to cover that. So yeah, a couple of changes for Valen. Obviously, Roy Keane is usually quite a big miss, and interesting to see that he's sticking with the three up top. Created a few chances last week, but I think it was only a 1-0 win away, wasn't it? Was it at Sloths? So yeah, interesting to see what they can get out of it here. What do you make of Andreas' formation here? Do you think this is his new ultra attacking in sort of a desperate attempt that he has to find goals, or do you think he's also tailored it to the opposition a little bit, and when he plays one of the top 3-4 sides, we're not going to see him so aggressive?
I don't know. I think he's having a bit of fun, and I don't blame him one bit, really. Yeah, I think he was probably the most consistent team last season. He's probably the strongest team this season, and I mean, was almost there last year. His only criticism, I think, he was only critiqued by himself, really, was that he didn't score enough goals considering the players he had: Saviola, Shevchenko, Totti, etc. So this formation that he's introduced is to try and combat that. he's won his 2 games when he's used it, I believe. So
Hmm. Hmm.
um, I wouldn't change it. He's put three up top with Alpha only having two at the back, which sometimes means a lot of goals.
Hmm.
So we'll see what happens. I can't see him conceding. I think that little block of four at the centre it just looks really really strong. Lasisi and Ayala are a world class centre back partnership. And you
Hmm.
mean you take one look at that team and Roy Keane is one of the best players on the game at the start. Um, but he doesn't look like he's missing him, does he? He's got a strong team there.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see how they if they continue to keep clean sheets with this ultra attacking formation, which is perhaps something that you'd be worried about when you go so attacking, whether you'll be able to prevent the opposition from scoring. Can you click Battaglia? Yes, I can click on him. Yeah, 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 he's got brilliant teamwork and other things. Positioning is also great. Long shots not so good. Heading and jumping also not brilliant. So there he is for all
Mhm.
to see. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how it pans out if these wide players, if Cafu gets going, obviously this could be a long night for Asta, but they will have the advantage of having a few more people down the middle. But then, as you say, if the back four of Valen are strong enough to nullify that threat, then it doesn't really matter. But predictions welcome. Ryan, what do you think? Away, you said you can't see Asta
Yeah,
scoring.
well, I can't see them scoring enough to win. Let's right. So, yeah, I probably think it's probably going to be a 2-0 Valen win. I've had to pick something.
There's a lot of Alf predicts that he's going to lose, so that's a little bit sort of like reverse jinx. Hodge agrees with you, 2-0 away win, 3-0 away. Ian Edwards is the only one who predicts a draw. So yeah, there's not a huge amount, not a huge amount of support for Asta so far. And Andreas goes 2-2. So we've got two managers, neither of them backing their own team to win. So we'll kick it off and we'll see what happens in the first half. Um,
You didn't get the Desmond reference last week, did you?
I know, I do now, obviously. I knew him, I just never made the connection between the Archbishop of whatever and the football result. It's been a little bit of not a
Back and
lot in the
forward,
first
I'd say
half.
Valen have had slightly the better of it.
I was
But yeah,
gonna
not a lot's happened.
say so too. Valen probably has the better, well, not the better chances. They have the more chances, but a poor conversion rate there. Five shots, only one on target. Possession wise, roughly a little bit in their favor as well. Um, not the best for Asta, but at least they're holding the zero. I mean, that's got to be positive. Brooking again, as you mentioned before, he's probably their most well, their biggest threat, isn't he? For in terms of goals, he's had two shots, both of them on target, but not really, not much else has happened in that respect. Vogel's done a lot of passing, but not
Yeah,
really.
it's been a bit of a damp squib of first half. I just watched the Everton Liverpool game and I was come to the Super League for some excitement and I've not got it straight away. Um, yeah, Alpha will be happy to go in at halftime 0-0. I think from his prediction before the game, he's got a depleted team. Um, and yeah, he was predicting a defeat himself to go in and have if he has a quiet game and comes away with a 0-0, then I think he'll be relatively happy, although he might not
Yeah,
express it. Andreas will be kind of wondering what's going on with his forward line, basically not getting hold of the ball, really. Saviola only 8 touches, Shevchenko only 8 touches. Um, he needs to kind of turn up a little bit. Fiore only 4 touches, that's crazy.
yeah, that's not been hugely effective, and Shevchenko obviously not really able to hit the target, but maybe he'll turn up in the second half. As you mentioned, Ayala and Lasisi are very good at the back, and they're obviously dominating in terms of tackles. Totti's been putting in the tackles as well for some reason. Battalia's doing a reasonable Roy Keane impression, so we'll see what happens in the second half. Not a lot has happened down the wings yet, so that's also still to come. I would say in terms of fitness, there's maybe a little bit. There's a couple of as an 85, 82, 87. There's a couple of guys that are maybe not 100%, whereas most of the apart from Biscan, most of the Asta
Mm.
players are in higher fitness. But we'll kick it off and we'll see what happens in the second half in terms of chances if Valen can take some of them or if Asta can find a way in and sneak this perhaps a home win. Um, I mean, they do have
20 minutes
talent.
went very quickly. 30 minutes, but Valen on top, but not looking like they're going to score at the moment.
Saviola unlucky to
Ooh.
pick up an injury there. Saha, I'll probably swap these two. I think Del Piero's left anyway. Saha's right, so we'll do that, and we'll see if that makes a difference in the last 13. If Saha can come on and change it. Oof, Alan
Ooh,
Smith should have
someone must
scored.
score there.
Yeah, a couple of really good chances for Astor here right at the end. That's the fitness levels maybe showing, but in the end, it was a Merseyside derby more than an early bedtime derby, to be honest. 0-0 in that one. Um, let's have a look at the action. So possession very, very equal and equally spread out. Valen continued very, very wasteful in the in that second period. Another three shots, none of them on target. Asta came into it a little bit more, had a couple of chances. I think they had a good spell near the end, but that was about it. What do you make of Asta's performance there? I mean, Giuliano does pretty well. Babel didn't
Best,
really, you know.
better than expected. One of these, I think the defenses have won, haven't they, this evening? So Masserat Giuliano played well. Vogel Biscan and Babel have done the job, even though Babel's had I mean, on stats wise, quite a poor game. But Alex said, I think Alf's happy with that. He could have, yeah, he's pointing there. Good point. Alan Smith could have ruined it. He had Alan Smith must score. He could have snatched the victory there, Alf. But yeah, I think before the game he did 2 good points, so you've got to walk away happy afterwards.
Hmm. And with regards to Valen, I mean, Andreas said there in the chat that Jens Jeremies has been a revelation since joining Valen United, and he has played. I mean, the revelation is maybe a strong word. He's definitely he's played well. He's made a bunch of tackles in the games that he's played, and tonight was no difference with 13 attempted tackles, 10 of them won, 3 key tackles as well. Perhaps not passing as well as he would have hoped for, but a decent performance nonetheless, and he somehow gets man of the match. I guess someone had to have it out of out of this lot. Um, Neil says, "How did Vincent get a 7?" If you're surprised about that, look at Fiore getting a 7 as well for his for his 50% pass completion rate and his 2 tackles. So yeah, a bit of a non-event. Shevchenko not even having any shots in the second half, and everything being wasted. Anything that stood out to you in that balance side apart from the wastefulness?
In honesty, not really. No, not enough chances created. That's about it, really. And when they have had a chance, they blasted it wide.
Yeah,
I
Shane.
think, as you kind of said there, the fitness may have come into it. You can see quite a few of them below 80 at the end of the game,
Hmm.
which may have had an impact.
Yeah, I mean they're the one. I mean you see 74 and Totti's getting a 6, Del Piero 74 getting a 6, but then Shevchenko got a 6 as well. So who knows? Anyway, a damp squib for the first match of the evening, and we'll move on to Hoddesdon Hornets and against. Well, I was gonna say hopefully we'll get goals in the second one, so we'll see. Hornets have not exactly been delivering huge amounts of that recently, but they have tweaked their tactics again a little bit. So maybe you can have a look at that, and we can have your thoughts on that. So it's away, it's out with the 4-1-3-2 and in with the 2-3-2-1-2 version 1 with an asterisk instead. Um, it's kind of a familiar Super League formation. We've seen it from various teams with various arrows. Um, what do you make of the changes? Do you think that'll be enough for Craig's side to start getting a few goals perhaps?
Um, he's definitely more attacking, isn't it? You think that's Eto's probably, in my opinion, Eto's best position. Um, sometimes you look at Hornets and you think, oh, I don't know where it's going to come from. I don't get that feeling tonight. Actually, I think he looks solid at the back with Lucio and Larson. When he's got them two up front, I think he's got a threat, especially with someone behind him as yes tonight. Um, as always, you look at that midfield, Donny, Dunn, and Good Johnson, and you think, is that really good enough for this Super League? Especially David Dunn. Um, who I think is
Yeah, well,
quite.
he's not done too badly. Donny has done a little bit worse, but not done too badly either. But they're not getting. He's not getting a huge return from them, obviously. Etu as well. He's done quite well, but not really. super well. Gudjonsen's probably been one of his best players, but he's keeping Petrov out obviously. But you're right. It's just on the evidence at hand, they've not really been creating enough in terms of getting goals, which wasn't really a huge problem for them last season. So I am a little bit surprised that it's worked out for them the way it has so far this season. But we'll see. We'll see what they can do with this new formation and lineup. With regards to hooligans, not a lot to discuss. Tariba West comes in for Desai on the left-hand side of that back three. Amateur's in there, Mendieta's in there, Olise, Kennedy keeps his place even though the goals have dried up a little bit, but I don't think he fancies Deco for some reason. Elba's on the bench, Defoe and Santa Cruz still up front. I think Rocky Santa Cruz has probably scored a couple. He's probably five. He's got so far. Defoe's got one as well. We've said a lot about the hooligan side in general over the last season and a half. Do you anything to add? I mean, there's obviously no new formation, anything like that to discuss.
No, there's obviously the has issues with injuries and upset players. Is it Ronaldinho out injured and Beckham who's upset? Is that the still the script? Is anyone else missing?
Yeah, I think he has Elias is out, Salas is out, Ronaldinho is out, and Beckham is
Elba Elba's
uh,
unhappy as well,
Elba's
isn't
unhappy. Yeah, he's got a lot of a lot of players who could be happier, definitely. So I guess he's making the most with what he's got, really.
he? Thiago's one of those who could definitely do with a transfer window, couldn't he? Um, yeah, I think again it's the same old formation. You can't really say too much about it. Um, I'm probably in his strongest position in my book. Mendieta, when he's used right, he's probably one of the best players on the game in his position, which is in my opinion is a DMC. I think he's got three solid centre backs there, an all right keeper. If you had Mendieta and Emerson, you'd think that's one of the strongest back fives in the Super League.
Mm.
He's similar to BTEC. He's missing that killer striker. I mean, Defoe's probably a bit young. Santa Cruz isn't generally good enough on this version of the game. And obviously, still Ronaldo and Salas isn't good enough. And yeah, that's where it sometimes comes undone. But yeah, he's got a strong team, and I can't really say much more about the
Hmm. Yeah, I
formation
mean,
that's not already been said.
could probably beat as he has shown before. He can probably lose to most teams and also beat most teams on the day. Really depends on kind of what version of hooligans turn up. But we'll kick this one off and we'll see who's turned up tonight. Prediction: Scott saying a 2-1 home win. Ryan, what's your prediction for this one? Fife has already been out with a brave 5-3 prediction.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't know. I fancy a couple of goals, maybe one apiece. I think one
Oh, we'll
apiece. I'll
kick
go
it.
for one.
We'll kick it off. Yeah, I mean, Fife has changed his mind now to 1-1. I'm not sure how he went from 5-3 to 1-1, but they're trolling. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, yeah, everyone's saying 1-1 now. That's fine. Fuck off. Fair enough. Right, well, we'll kick it off and we'll see. We'll see if it's 1-1 now. I'm just gonna go to bed. Oh gosh, right. Let's have a look and see what's happening here. A couple of good chances for hooligans actually, but oof, and it is Batistuta. Close was poorly placed, so a bit of a keeper error for that one. But Batistuta will definitely take it, and Craig will absolutely take it. I mean, just to see his side score, that's something that he's not been able to enjoy for a
Oof,
few weeks.
David done this in his sister as well.
Yeah, well, it's bound to happen. He probably tried a Rabona again. Found
I
himself
think
on
they
his
came into
ass.
it. I think Hornets probably finished the second half stronger. He'll be delighted to get Batistuta off the mark. That Batistuta being firing is going to make or break his season. So to get him off the mark is exactly what Craig's looking after.
Yeah, and
Um,
definitely it's been the action's been down at the hooligans end. Although Hornets have had less of the possession, it's been all down the other end, and you can see that in terms of the chances created as well, where they're definitely way out ahead with 8 shots, 4 on target to hooligans 2 and 1. Passes completed and all this is fairly even. Okay, they've won a few more headers, but that's about it. And seem that they're offside trap is working okay as well. Let's have a look at the Hornets player stats. Sanyol with the assist, bit of an unsung hero. I think we've mentioned him a couple of times. He's actually got a decent average. He's just not got that much in terms of output of goals and assists, but he's putting in a solid defensive shift for Hornets anyway. Maybe that's the solution for him, to push him up to that DMR position instead of and playing him at proper sort of DR as he does in his normal formation. And of course, as you mentioned, Batistuta being key. I mean, 3 shots on target, and a goal in there. Anything else that you see in the Hornets side in terms of passing?
I'm just having a quick look now. Joey Johnson's been on the ball a lot. Yeah, I think he'll be very, very happy with that first half performance. I think we kind of looked at it. I think I agree with you and thought Hooligans had the better of it first 10, 15 minutes, but that doesn't seem to be reflected in the stats. As he looked really solid at the back, not give Hooligans much at all, and he's got one of his strikers scoring. Yeah, really solid half for Craig and the Hornets. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and a quick look at the stats for Hooligans there, and they've had a dreadful half, haven't they?
Yeah.
There's 2 sevens in the entire team, and second class keeping the minutes.
Yeah, Taribo West seem to be doing a half decent job. Mendieta doing okay in midfield as well. Kennedy, pretty much out of. I mean, it's difficult to drop when he was one of the players that was really the only guy really scoring goals for him, especially now with Ronaldinho's absence. But looking at his stats and his performance, I mean, he's got Deco on the bench. I mean, I don't particularly rate Deco, but I would pick him over Kennedy in season 1 and 2 for sure. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's yeah. I mean, we'll let Hooligans, the management team, decide, obviously. But I do think they have options. A little bit like the kind of critique that fairly or unfairly has been levied at the level that there's at Swindon at times, that he's not really playing his best players, and he's not playing them in the best position. I don't know if Deco is better than Kennedy on the game, to be honest, but I would play him anyway just because it's Deco, and I mean his stats aren't brilliant, but it's
Yeah,
still better than Kennedy's.
Kennedy's Kennedy, I think, well, for me anyway, I don't know how much the other lads used to buy him, but when first got the game, you kind of one of the first kind of nations I always used to scout was Sweden, because you got some relatively good players quite cheap. I think Ken Kallstrom is the one that comes to mind. Stefan Selakovic, another, and Kennedy was one of those you could get in kind of Division 1, Division 2, and he'd probably help get you up to the Premier League. Really like high performer, but Super League level, you wouldn't think so. But then the amount of goals he's scored kind of leaves us with egg on our face. But as you kind of rightly said, if he's not scoring goals, it doesn't look like he's bringing much to the team. And yeah, I agree with you. I don't really like Deco, but he's got to be better than Kennedy.
Yeah, and you could, I mean, Elba, I know he's unhappy, but you could throw him in and see if he stopped being unhappy, because his stats are kind of good. But anyway, we'll leave that.
He could definitely play. There's no two questions about that, is there?
No.
Elba should be playing.
I would have thought so, but I mean, it's also up to the manager whether he likes the specific players or not. But we'll see. We'll see in the second half if Hooligans prove us wrong, or if Hornets can continue to pile on the pressure. Oh, there's Aymar with an early response in the second half. Obviously, a little bit out of nowhere and against the run of play. Certainly, judging by the first half that they're now on the scoreboard. This is 1-1. Better not stay like this. There's Aymar again. He's definitely finding some space in there. It seems random who delivers from Hooligans. There's like one player that steps up
I was
occasionally.
thinking about what you said before the game, and about for a team that keeps the same formation week in, week out.
Oh,
The different
Tsigalko with a
levels.
late equaliser.
And there we are.
Oh,
and we've got a Desmond draw.
true.
I'll just finish what I was saying. It seems, considering that they stick with the formation week in, week out, it is really, they do blow hot and cold. Some weeks they're absolutely fantastic, other weeks they're dreadful. It looks like they've done that in the same game here, where the first half they've not turned up, second half much better, almost got away with the win if it wasn't for Maxim right at the end.
Yeah. I mean, impressive that we spoke about the two strikers that he was struggling to get goals out of his two strikers, and then in the end he gets goals out of both of them. I mean, it would have been unfair, I think, on Craig if he'd lost this one. But a solid performance from Hooligans in that second half, especially from Aymar, who deservedly get man of the match. Mendieta with an assist and Defoe with an assist as well. So uh, I mean, not a bad performance and not a bad point for Hooligans to pick up away. I mean, maybe he'll be a little bit disappointed after being 2-1 up that that he didn't get it. He didn't get the win, but when you look at the amount of chances created, perhaps on reflection, a 2-2 seems the fairer one. A little bit of a problem running into offside positions, it would seem here with 21 offsides. I think we've had 23 in some games, but 21 is definitely a lot. So a decent performance, and as you mentioned, Aymar probably in his best position. Um, for
I quite
Hornets,
enjoyed. I quite enjoyed the second half after a bit of a dance. Another, not the most entertaining first half. It definitely came to life in the second half.
hmm
Um, yeah, and it was the two men up front which have done damage for Huddleston Hornets. It, it, that that little graphic there kind of sums up his team really, because defense high scoring, really solid. Midfield low scoring, apart from Joey Johnson, and then the two strikers high scoring again. So it's that does really sum Hornets up, and they're just a couple of players missing from being a solid playoff contender. Um, it's just, I mean, I think maybe to have a look at the Ardsley Celtic formation, where he generally plays without a
and just and
midfield, and
just
maybe
and
that's
just
something
scrap
that,
just scrap the midfield and go with the players because you are right, it's 8, 8, 9 and 7 for the for the four defenders, and then 9 for Joey Johnson and DMC, and then 8 and 9 for Tigalco and Batistuta, and just the guys there in the middle not really contributing, and obviously the width played a huge part in their win, both of the goals coming from crosses there. So but 2-2, yeah, and at least, I mean, at least Craig's getting goals. At least he's found a formation that's getting him some goals. Now he just needs to sort out that kind of like triangle of the two MCs and the AMC and see what he's gonna do with that. But that's been a decent enough performance from his side. He'll be a little bit disappointing not to take the win when he sees the distribution of chances. But on the other hand, you're 2-1 down and you manage to get a goal back in the 90th minute. That's quite a lot of 90-minute goals that have been in Hooligans games, both for and against this season and last. So yeah, a little bit too interesting maybe for Hooligans, a little bit too exciting for them. But yeah, it's an away point. You can't complain too much about that, I think.
just looking at Five Piece question there, Hodds had whose midfield are they better? I think what I would say, you could probably use Hodds would probably take the people that are unhappy not playing at Hulls and be a lot better team. I mean, he definitely put David Beckham in that midfield. I think it's Sundale. I'm not too sure. Definitely got other midfielders who don't get in the game, and they would definitely start for Hornets. So
Mm.
there's definitely a lot to be said there. And yeah, if they had Aymar, if they had Mendieta, then yeah, they would be top top 3 or 4.
They'd be slightly better off than with Don and Donny. Yeah, well, that's a fair point, and a fair question, Fifey. As always, questions for the studio. Feel free to fire away in the chat. Next up, we've got the battle of the Scottish assistant managers. One of them does have an actual manager who's Scottish as well, but let's go with the narrative of the assistant managers. So it's Midlothian against the Dragons. And let's have a quick look here. And so here's how Midlothian line up for this evening. The total football, apparently, with
Yeah,
Addo and
this is rocks through and through, isn't it? This is just a pure
with
rocks formation.
well, total football is Dutch, and Neil has been playing a lot recently in the Dutch league, so there is that connection. Just saying, just saying. Obviously, as the chairman, I have to remain on the fence, but it is a little bit suspicious. Just adding to the anti-Midlothian agenda here. But anyway, back in the back back in the world of co-commentary, as we mentioned, and as you mentioned yourself in the beginning, Midlothian, apart from the first two games, which did not go to plan, regardless of who's in charge, they've had a pretty brilliant last 7 games. Only one defeat in those 7, I think. Um, maybe even eight, maybe even in the last eight, only one defeat in the last eight, and
Yeah,
and strong performances from all over the park. Ortega really finding his feet at the club as well.
yeah, good player. I think I mentioned last couple of times on comms, if you keep him in the team, and yeah, as soon as the issue with Ortega, as soon as you drop him, he gets unhappy. So you keep him in the team and he keeps delivering assists, 7.75 rating. That's a really strong rating. I thought he'd played more than 4 games actually, but yeah, considering he didn't feature much at Aston last season, I think it was a good buy for Midlothian, and he's delivering definitely.
Yeah, I think he played with. I think he went. He didn't play him in the beginning because he played back behind Vieri, and he was reluctant to switch
Yeah,
to the two AMCs. He played Vieri and Impensa up front, and Impensa who's just not been at the races at all, really. It was Impensa, isn't it, that he's got? I think so. Yeah, he sold Kessman. Yeah, that's right. It's Impensa that's not really been at the races. But Vieri, then, on the other hand, has 7 goals in 10, and he's definitely been at the races. And I would say he's probably, I mean, season two, three, there's not many strikers that are better than him in the game,
so
to
if you
be
look at,
honest.
I think of when Alf posted his CM scout last season, Vieira was the best striker in the game.
Mm,
Um, I mean, so if anyone does pay any heed to that, then Ian definitely got a really good deal getting Vieira.
hmm Kieran says we all want to see a Dragons win. Fivey says he doesn't. He's maybe interested in keeping it exciting down at the or keeping it level down at that end of the table. We've got Neil Scally's back on the bench, fortunately for those of us who are not fans of him. Ramalov is there. Alex, who joined from Bolton. He didn't pull up any trees for you last season. He was okay, and he's not exactly impressed at Midlothian. So looks like you got a slightly better deal with I think it was Kewell going in the other direction.
Yeah, he's a solid player though. I'm not going to knock him too. I think he did all right for me. It was just I just thought Kuhl just has that. I think he just got that little bit of an edge on him. But I definitely don't think Alex is a bad player, and
Mm.
he's not really been given a fair crack of the whip. I don't think so far at Midlothian. It's nice to see him in there tonight.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens tonight. He's obviously got the giant Gianni Comandini on the bench, so we'll see if he comes in. Not seen much of him. He had like a couple of appearances a long time ago for Chutley that didn't really do anything. But so yeah, we'll see if he gets called into action later
10
on.
million. 10 million, did I see that? I mean, I bought Vincenzo Montella for 25 million, right? And you mean he's one of the top strikers on the game, Comandini, and he spent 10 million on him.
Yeah,
Can someone explain that to me in the comments? Because I just don't understand that at all.
not entirely sure what the script was with that, but that's how it goes. We'll see if anyone swapped for Rocket Junior. Apparently,
All right, so it's a
yeah.
nominal value.
That was
Fair
the
enough.
values that were at. Anyway, they're up against Dragons, who are playing pretty much exactly the same formation. I think the only change they made was on the right hand side. They've got Davies out there. I forget who was out there last week. But it was that Lammy fella, wasn't it?
Michael
Um,
Lamy.
yeah, so he's not
I
on
think,
anymore. And then Kalatsa moves into central midfield.
yeah, solid lineup, two solid centre halves. I think he just generally just reverted back to putting his best 11 players out now. Um, Carini's the best of a bad bunch when it comes to goalkeepers. I think he's missing a world class centre midfield. I think Kaladze probably is all three of those, Tomasi, Guardiola, and Kaladze, are better at DMC.
Mm.
Um, and I would be tempted to, I don't know what I'd do to be honest with you, but maybe. Oh, I don't, he needs that more.
Another one without a central midfielder, maybe.
Yeah, he just needs someone. Even Davies. Davies not probably
Yeah,
put in that.
he is a right-sided midfielder, but I don't think he has any options on that right wing back. I mean, he could play Brosek out there
Uh,
maybe and then keep it, but then Guardiola and Tomasi have been doing like a solid job. I mean, Guardiola's just been brought in, but he did a solid job last season. I mean, if you look at it last season, he was probably one of their best players and definitely did a good job. And Tomasi's obviously again a quality player that he's got. So there, that's kind of the logic behind that. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see, obviously with two very similar formation, who gets the short straw out of this. Your predictions for this one? Fifey says 3-0 home win. Big Midlothian supporter there, obviously Fifey.
I think this will be a tight one. I think maybe I'll probably go. I mean, I think obviously the referee will get involved. There'll be some dodgy decision, and Midlothian will scrape it out of nowhere, maybe 2-1. But I reckon Dragon's probably the better team here, and it'll just purely be a little bit of the Rocks magic, which gets Midlothian across the line.
Well, we'll definitely see. I think there's a lot of love for a home win in the comments. 3-1, 2-0, 3-1, 3-0 rather. So we'll see. We'll kick this one off, and we'll see who of these two, a very similar formation, have the better of the opponents. Ortega and Brosek being the kind of informed players to look out for in this one. And of course,
Okay.
Midlothian don't have the best keeper either in Shay Given. I mean, you mentioned Carini for Dragons not being being
Definitely
top
get you
class,
going
but
on given though. Is that a wise thing to do?
I mean, it's by his own admission. I'm not. Oh, there's a goal back.
Cheap back.
Archie back
Unbelievable.
with one from distance. I think this was
Yeah, I'd
giving mid.
say that Dragons have looked to me anyway. Look like they're slightly on top for the majority, but yeah, the goal has gone to the home side.
Yeah, I think they just about shaded that first half in terms of well, just about a little bit, just one or two more shots on target, but fairly even in terms of chances. Well, two more shots on target on goal, one less on target. Fairly even distribution as well. Let's have a look at the Midlothian stats. There's no assist, so it was a case of back just taking the game by the scruff of the neck, taking things into his own hands. He's got two key passes, two key tackles. He's got a goal. He's really starting to develop after, I would say, a bit of a slow start. That was maybe expectations as well when he first came in, but he's starting to get. I mean, that's now 6 and 10, so he's used less games to get more goals than he did all of last season. Um, Key
Good
player.
scout by this German. Yeah, I think he developed into a key player for Midlothian. Yeah, he's someone quite left field, and he's doing a job for them. He's definitely a good one on this game. So um, I don't know if you put him at the same level as someone like Brozek on the Dragons team.
Hmm.
But yeah, if he's getting goals like that, he's the top performer there. But there's also you look at this two ways, and then Dragon Destroyers have got Carini in there. And I mean, me and Alf have both struggled at the hands of our goalkeepers this season, but I think we definitely keep our keepers over Carini and Rogerio, and I don't even know who the other one is that Dragons have got. So, I mean, it is sometimes frustrating when you look at players like I'm going off a bit of a tangent here, but Elafaropoulos and Paluca and Peruzzi, who very rarely seem to get a game, and yet Carini's the main man at Dragons.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's
Yeah. There's maybe deals that could have been done in terms of picking up a replacement keeper, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see if he does anything in the upcoming market or in the next market with regards to that. I mean, Carini can be really good, to be honest. I mean, he's 750 average, but he is really young and not really developed to the level of some of the other keepers. But that's maybe not the least of his worries, but he also needs goals, yeah. And Robbie Keane has completely gone off the boil after having such a good season last year. Although his stats have kind of just improved really. Apart from the heading, influence, jumping, they are pretty good. I mean, Brosek's obviously had a good start to the season. He's really developed quite well as well. But that's the striker position. He's just not getting anything out of. I mean, Shearer, okay, fair enough, 3-1-2, but I think that was one game. He got an 8. The rest of it has
yeah.
been a little bit poor. Yeah, he got an 8 and one goal and an assist, and then nothing really to
Maybe
write home about.
is the kind of a call for just drop one of those AMCs into a set midfield position and play two up front. Considering the fact that he's playing Kaladze, you could drop Guardiola, drop Kaladze into DMC.
Hmm.
And then is there really that much hate for Michael Owen that he just can't get a game? I think he's got someone else as well who might be injured at the moment.
I mean, there's Viduka. There's is it
Viduka
Cisse
is the
or
other one.
Casano? No, Casano he's sold. He's got Viduka still, I think. So
He's
he's
got
definitely
options,
got
hasn't
options.
Yeah, I don't know. It's only half time, but so I don't want. I mean, egg on my face if Big Alan gets 2 or 3 now in the second half. So I'll shut up.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see if they can find a way back into it, like Hooligans did in the second half. They've definitely started off the stronger side. A couple of good chances there in the first 10 minutes or so. But that's Alex, who I slacked off before the game, who's brought Midlothian up to a 2-0 lead now. Just a little bit more cynical in terms of getting the ball in the back of the net when they do have the chances. Oh, and there's Carini making an
Mm.
ass of himself. Um,
Oof, Michael Owen in that. No.
I'll just take Robbie. Well, that's not really. He's been the worst. I can't really. I think it's going to be much worse if I take someone out there at the back. So
I
we'll
agree
see.
with you. I agree with that one.
We'll see. Oh, well done, well done, Rogerio, with with an impressive substitute appearance there, coming on and immediately picking out the penalty from Vieri there. But their back is soon back in action, and that's 3-0 for Midlothian, and it's
Yeah, it's dominant, isn't it? That's the
Yeah, I was going to
yeah.
say after the red, that's obviously curtains. The red card. I mean, they're already being not outplayed, but they had that burst in the beginning of the second half. You can see there they only had 1 or 2 shots in the second half. Very solid, very solid performance. Back has been a lot more effective with his nickname, says Neil. Yeah, after we changed it to Archie Back, then then he's definitely been delivering the goods. That's another 2 goals for him. Vieri could have had one, but obviously missed the penalty. Let's see how that came about. Ortega brought down, but yeah, so Ortega brought down Ortega. Then probably he'll get an assist for that. Yeah, Midlothian continues to impress. I mean, not against the toughest of oppositions, considering the changes they had to their lineup with Kalatza playing in that MC role and generally just a little bit, but still a bunch of eights,
Considering
a
it
bunch of
doesn't
eights,
matter
two
who
nines, and a
you're
10.
against. Consider it doesn't matter who you're against. If no one in your team gets below an 8, it's a dominant performance. Absolutely, I mean, pretty much flawless looking across the team. Um, Douillage having a really strong performance there. Yeah, yeah. There's no one to pick fault with there. Back absolutely dominant. Someone who I've criticised in the past. Alex starting to prove his worth. Yeah, the Scots are rolling at the minute. And yeah, I hope it don't last too long. But
Yeah,
I think
because you're already playing catch up, and you will be again after this performance. Then that'll be a win needed for you guys, obviously against Chutley tonight. Looking at Dragons formation and the stats. I mean, again, this midfield, we spoke about it a little bit. Are they getting the best out of Brosek, Kalatsa, Shearer in those positions with that lineup? Perhaps it's something to consider as well. If Robbie Keane was a 5 at halftime, I know they've obviously maybe dropped a little bit in the ratings because they probably struggled in the last half hour or so, but still not. It's not great, is it?
no, it's hard to you kind of look for answers, aren't you? Samath, I mean, he's got his defence hasn't played too bad, has it? Rustico and Simic, they're okay. Just nothing going forward. I mean, 6, 6, 6, 5, 6, and do you mean there's no one in that attacking half got
Got
anything
posted.
half decent?
No, and I
So
think the kind of gas went out of the balloon, or the air went out of the balloon, sort of early in the second half, didn't it? I mean, I think they had like 3 or 4 chances in the first, well, what looked like 3 or 4 chances in the first 10 minutes in the second half, and after that, it was just, all downhill. Alex got the goal for Midlothian, and then it was kind of downhill from there. But uh, I mean, as you mentioned, they have options. They have Michael Owen there. I'm sure there's a couple of other guys in the squad that could perhaps get a game or two, and just to see how things work out. Out of interest, let's actually have a look here. I mean, they've got.
for me, I looked at that and I just can't see how they put that team out, and it's like they're not expecting to do much. It's just a bit of a. You mean they've matched up? We've matched up against Midlothian, but with worse players, and it's like, oh god. So they know they've got worse players than them, so you've got to try and maybe outthink them, and it just seems quite a lazy formation that Dragons have put out. Not tried to do anything different.
Yeah, I'm
And
just
yeah,
thinking if there's space for someone like Carragher in there as well. I mean, maybe not a world beater. There's Curtis as well. I mean, they've definitely got defensive options, but you can see here, like in terms of midfield attacking, I'm just thinking putting Simon Davies on DMR when you've effectively got. I mean, I know he's not played well, but you could have tried him. Could have played Carragher there. You could have played Brosik down there. You could have played Van der Meijde down there on the right hand side. I know he's not been great either, but you do have like attacking options down there, and Giggs has obviously done well as an attacking player on the left hand side. So I mean, we'll see
for
what they
me, I'd
come
be
up
looking
with.
at
Hmm?
for me with Dragons, I'd be looking at like a 4-1-3-2 or something like that. Keep that defense, get that defense solid. Maybe with Lemmy and Carragher in the fullback positions. He's got best defensive midfielder in Tomasi, then Red Kaladze in that position, but with Brozek and Robbie Keane either side of him,
Mm,
and then he can play any whoever two of the strikers that he likes up front. I don't know,
yeah, yeah.
just an idea kind of thing. It's just I just think he needs to do something different when he's gone away from home to Midlothian.
Mm,
Um, I don't know.
yeah.
I'm talking about the only team in the Super League I've never beaten, so I'm not I don't really like slagging off Dragons. So, but I know I've got to put my foot in a little bit there, but
Yeah,
it just
yeah,
seemed
but you gotta
it just seemed like a little bit of a lazy lineup there,
yeah, I
which
don't think I've never beaten any of the Super League managers in the game. I think so. So I can't really, I can't say anything. But you gotta have some opinions on it as well. So, but a shame for Dragons that that it kind of ended the way it did because it was looking kind of promising-ish, not promising, but perhaps as if they were in with a good shout anyway until the end of the first half. They were definitely still in it, but second half obviously completely different story. Next up, we've got Panathinaikos against the league leaders, Arsenal Celtic. So it'll be interesting to see how that one pans out. Panathinaikos with a couple of personnel changes. Arsenal Celtic, I think, just with one. Well, that's another purple away guy here. So we'll have a look at Panathinaikos. So this is completely different. I think is the is the word I'm looking for. So Mac has gone with the 271 is over. The 271 era is over apparently, and now it's all about the. I'm not sure how this is WM. Is it?
I don't know. Mac is on a home side. Mac is a real big fan of the it's 3-4-1-2. So he would generally play a flat back three, four across the middle, and I mean, the rest of the lineup as it is. Um, Kind of, he mentioned to me that he's not too sure about how three defenders work in the Super League. It's not generally not done with very much success, and also playing without a DM seems to have an issue. So that's why he's kind of gone with the 2-1. Um,
Mm.
Cannavaro and Udeze have been fantastic this season. Even in this bad run of form, they've only conceded, I mean, 3 goals in the last 3 games.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, got, I mean, I think from if you look at that midfield going forward, he's got a really strong midfield there. You could arguably say George Yatos and Salihamidzic are probably better one position back in the wing back role rather than as wide midfielders. But
Hmm.
Nedved's probably, ah, is he? Yeah, probably is the best player. Oh, maybe not. Maybe second best player on the game in that position behind Totti. He's world class first couple of seasons before he drops off.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and he wants the Euro 2000 front line up top, which he's got. I think I don't think it's a new tactic for the Super League from what I can remember, but I don't think it's a bad lineup.
No,
Um,
and I think it's an interesting one. It's not often that we see four across the middle in the Super League, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I'm a big fan of new tactics being introduced to the Super League, and if some of them can be successful, then then even better than just introducing ones for kind of the sake of it. I mean, Kieran's always played something that's a little bit different to kind of what everyone else plays, and Palmer obviously did the exact same as well. Not the exact same as Kieran, but he always played something a little bit different. And and it's good to see. I think for kind of the continuity of the league and the club, it's nice to see that Chris is going the same way, playing something that's a little bit different to everyone else. Of course, as people are alluding to in the chat, it could still be 1-0 win for Arsenal though, but but we'll have a look at their lineup and see how you rate that. So not a lot of change. He's got oh, they're the wrong way around, aren't they? Kufre and Kiwo there. So we've got Christian Kivu comes in for John Terry. That's the only change. Candela, Sauri, Said, Vieri, Nikiforenko, or is it Claudio Lopez? He's played. Yeah, he played. He got the winner, and or was it the one
Yeah,
before?
like Lopez got the winner last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so very similar to what he did last week, and it's working for them, isn't it? I mean, the tactic is the same as day one. I think he's only changed personnel or from very early on.
Yeah, it's a tactic which is working for him. His defenders and goalkeeper have been great, pretty much since game 4. I think they had a couple of nightmares, conceding 3 and 4, I think, in one game. But Kufre has been a revelation even. Kivu is one at best on the game, as is John Terry when he's fit. And I'd say Candela and Zouri, although they might not offer worlds going forward, are two of the top defensive wing backs on the game. And yeah, he's got Vieira and he's got Said, who looks like he's a bit of a cheap player on this. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know. The idea is he hasn't got any world beaters in that front 3, in my opinion. Madeira is the one that you can put the question mark over. But so the idea is he's put a solid backline out there, and he's chucked 3 up front, and he says, "Guess what? If I have 3 up front, I'm definitely going to score goals," and it's working for him.
Yeah, it's worked
1-0,
very well for him
1-0,
so far.
1-0, 1-0, and you can't argue with it. So I mean, I'm quite respectful in that way. He's the only team I've generally watched the game and thought I've been outplayed there this season, and I mean he's the one who's top of the league. So respect to them at the minute. I'll be still working over where how I can get around this and get in front of them when it comes to the business end of the season, but. Should be a good game, this one.
Yeah, because looking at this, you're going to have to beat him at some point in the playoffs if you're going to retain your title. Because it definitely looked as if, as I think, as we spoke about last week, he's not many points off being securing. I think he's on 27 now. It is, isn't it? I can't remember, something like that, maybe. I think 27 points. Either way, yeah, 27, and I think you only needed 36 or 38 or whatever it was. Yeah, so he's kind of 10 points away from securing a playoff spot, and we're not even at halfway point of the season. So a good start for Arsenal, but we'll see how it goes tonight. Predictions are
genuinely accepted number, I think, is 41, isn't it? That if you get 41, you're pretty much secure in the playoffs. I don't think there's much chance.
41 is guaranteed. I think 40 should be enough. I think 39 point something is what Palmer worked out, and then went with 40. So 41 is should be guaranteed, but I think it was a lot less last season. So, but we'll see. We'll see. I don't think he'll be anywhere near 36 points at the end of the season if he keeps this up, obviously. Predictions are that Arsenal 2-1 winners, Arsenal 3-1. Alf says a home win. 2-2 says Fifey. How do you see this one going? Even?
It's a tough one to call. It really is. I probably, because of the form, I'm leaning towards an away win, so I'm probably going to go 1-0 to the Celtic, even though I look at this and I cannot see how Panathinaikos won't score.
I mean,
yeah, it's definitely going to be 1-0 to the Celtic, isn't it?
Well, we'll have a look, and we'll kick this one off first half and see if. Oh, that he didn't last long. Was that the Euro whatever lineup? I can't, for the life of me, remember.
Vasiljuk, sure, the straight swap.
Yeah. If it's Trezeguet is the one who's kind of unpopular anyway. I'm not sure, but okay, let's see. Good save by Dida, Ibrahim Said, Sauri. Oh, my goodness, it's all Arsenal Celtic so far. But Panathinaikos coming into it again, just as I said that.
George Jata there.
It's working. 4-man midfield against a 0-man midfield. They taking liberties now. Jakarta's coming forward again, but not finding the target just before the end of the first half. So one shot on target, one goal. so he'll be he'll be happy with that after having I don't know how many shots in the last couple of games and not scoring a single one. Then he's got one on target and actually getting a goal out of it, and he has got the most of the possession as well by the looks of things. Arsenal obviously very dangerous in that kind of like counter-ish formation that they have with those guys up front, but they've just been beaten by Dita by the looks of it. Um,
It's kind of it's the opposite of what usually happens, or what has happened the last 3 weeks with Palmer and Icos, the last 2 weeks anyway. Where yeah, they have peppered the goals, and the keepers have been um, they have peppered the goal, and the keepers have been world class. Whereas this week they've had one shot and it's gone in. Um, yeah, it's not there's not much happened in the first half. It's been I mean, by Super League levels, and especially by these two clubs, you'd expect quite a lot more going on.
yeah.
7 shots in total, but yeah, Mac will be happy to edge in front.
And Neil always with the eye for the awful sevens. If you look at Thierry Henry, how does he have a seven? He has seven passes, completed three, and lost two headers, and he gets a seven. I mean, Joe Cole,
Yeah,
nine passes, seven, one of them even key. I mean, he's losing his headers as well. He gets a seven. 29, that could be a bit of a rough one. That's probably 3 to 4 weeks or something for Trezeguet. Anyway, let's have a look at Ardsley. They need to turn up the heat in the second half, don't they? That's not been a lot, really. Said has had a chance, Lopez has had a chance, and Morientes has had a chance, but they've just failed to find the back of the net. Get a fair few passes in, a couple of tackles,
you,
some good headers,
you
but
do
just not
fancy him
really.
scoring though, don't you?
Sorry?
That's the thing with having three up front. You just fancy him scoring at some point. And Bombadilla and Mariente has been poor so far. Lopez the best of the three. But yeah, it's been a poor first half really. But I just fancy there's more goals in this.
Well, definitely with if they can keep up the 100% shots on target ratio, they should be in with a chance. We'll kick off the second half and see if Arsenal can find a way through, or if Panathinaikos with their new if they found a genuine replacement for the 271. Because they obviously have been dangerous when they've managed to hit the target, even though it was only once.
Mm.
It follows the pattern for the first half, doesn't it? With Arsenal just pouring shots on
Yeah, a
goal
lot of purple,
and
a
Dida.
lot. There might be a bit of a champion on the cards there by the looks of it.
Uh,
To go.
it, it it looks as if there could be a goal. Yeah, I was going to
Oh,
say it looks as if there could be a goal, but I think it will be the other way. They just looked that little bit more dangerous, and they even had a penalty request turned down. Um,
well, maybe not a champion. It was.
not so much of a
It
champion, but
definitely seemed like a lot of purple for the first 35 minutes of that second half.
yeah, they
But
definitely looked as if they had a lot more of it in the second half. But yeah, in the end, Panathinaikos take it with and a comfortable. Well, I won't say comfortable, but results-wise, a comfortable 2-0 victory in the end. And if you look at the performance of the players there, pretty good, really pretty good. I mean, just sevens from some of the forward guys.
yeah,
Vasiu comes on for a
it's
seven.
Udeze and Cannavaro again, absolutely fantastic. Nicky Butt as well, putting in an 8. Really solid at the back. I mean, two defenders have kept three strikers quiet. So you've got to give them props there.
Hmm.
Dida having a solid game. Um, yeah, and yes, they've come out and scored a couple of goals, which is something which Panathinaikos have been missing for the last couple of weeks. Just having a quick look, and there's George Arsos with a goal and an assist. Not surprising, gets man of the match. I think there's no other assisters there. I thought Ned Ben might get involved, but yeah,
Yeah.
Mac will be over the moon when he catches up
And
with this.
he's obviously he's not done that well so far this season. He obviously had an amazing end to the season for Joe when he was in charge, but so far not really been delivering that well for Palmer. Certainly not in the last game that he played. But if you look at his international record for Australia, then he's obviously done well in the last 6 games they've played. So an important player for the national side. And as you mentioned, Udese doing really well. The only reason that he's not like completely outstanding is because Cannavaro is fucking ridiculous in the game, to be honest. There's too many 20s in all the right places and an 840 average. I mean, it's annoying when your average is drawn down because you only get an 8. And how is you only getting an 8 anyway? Completing that amount of passes, 8 out of 9
It
tackles, 6 out of
should be
9
a 10,
headers.
really, shouldn't it?
It's a solid performance from him there. If we're looking at RC Celtic, Landro not having the best of the games, I think that was one of the discussions that was going on in the community before the match, whether Landro was one of the best keepers, and he's not put in the shift that we've seen from him recently tonight. Candela the same, a little bit disappointing on that left hand side. Patrick Vieira still doing a brilliant job. 20 attempted tackles, 111. Yeah, just a bit of
Yeah, I think
an
Hodgie.
awkward one, and I think it was probably epitomized by the what have we here? Tomadera knocked the ball. Where was the penalty? Cannavaro barged Claudio Lopez in the back. Referee turned down the penalty appeal. That's probably sort of symptomatic for how that Arsenal performance was throughout the game, wasn't it? That they just didn't get the rub of the green in the right situations.
Yeah, I think Hodgie will kind of freely admit he has had the rub of the game in a few of the games on this run, where he's played a couple of games where he's been second best and come out on top. He's had an absolutely fantastic run. Um, yeah, and as he's put there in the thing, all good things come to an end, and they just didn't get the strikers didn't get the ball in the net tonight, which is, I mean, in essence, what's costing the game.
Yeah, but then, as you say, it's if you're on a good run and you throw it away in a crappy home performance and get champed or whatever, that's one thing. But to lose away to Panathinaikos, who apart from a run of pretty bad luck, have been a very strong side. I mean, they were the ones who he got the first place spot from, wasn't it? They were the ones he knocked off the first place spot
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
originally. So not a huge disaster, and I'm sure they'll bounce back. But yeah, let's move on to our next game this evening, which is Sloths against BTEC. So let's have a look
Just
here.
out of interest, that's why you loading up the next game. Just how many was the run? Was it 6, 8 wins on the bench? Was it 9? I'm not sure. Just so the rest of us know what we've got to aim for. That's the
I think it was uh, they
how'd you
you
know? You crack on. How'd you tell us
no
about it for sure?
it'll be eight because they beat you to go to seven, didn't they? Was it not six in a row? That was your record, and then he beat you to get seven, and then he got eight, and now he's lost. I think.
It's some going that, isn't it? It's some record.
Games won in a row. Yeah, he was at eight. Eight in a row, and that's where it ends. Let's see if I've picked all four substitutes for BTEC. That's good. The nice looking BTEC away kit. We're always happy to see that. A couple of changes for Sloths. So Risp goes out. Verns comes in. Yepes keeps his place. I think there's a lot of people wanted Yepes to keep his place. So that's happened. Simeone has come in for Van Bronckhorst. I can't remember what's wrong with him. Ballack is in that central midfield where Simeone was playing before, which didn't really work out. And Rivaldo, who's apparently causing some issues in the Sloths camp in terms of behavior, etc., is dropped, and D'Alessandro has come into the AMC role. They obviously have got 3 point Sloths. Any chance of them picking up any more tonight at home against BTEC?
On paper, no, but I mean, BTEC have been poor this year, and last year really. But yeah, I think he's got a better lineup now. Rob has at Sloss. I quite like the setup. He's got his best players there or thereabouts in the best positions. NDI is top quality. I'm another one who was a relatively big fan of Yepes. I quite like D'Alessandro as well. I know at this point, I think he's still only 21 years old, but he definitely becomes a world class player on a lot of my serves. So I mean, and then with those two strikers, he's got a chance of scoring some goals. Yeah, I mean, I think the line in Inglorious Bastards is not so terrible. When you say something is pretty shit, but not as bad as it could be.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been a tricky one for him. I think his squad is not bad. I mean, The players aren't bad. As you mentioned, D'Alessandro, he's definitely got all the right stats in all the right places. Crespo and Kessman could probably play for most teams in the Super League as well. Duff is perhaps I mean, maybe the wings. He's not bad, but I don't know if anyone would pick up Damien Duff or Selakovic you mentioned earlier. He's also good, but maybe not the hugest name. But they
He's
are
one of them,
good.
Selakovic. You buy him when you're in Division One,
Mm,
and he gets you into the Premier League, and then
you
you
find
kind
someone
of
better.
that's when you start to flog him on to get to someone else. Therefore, so it's amazing that he's in the Super League and also relatively he's starting most weeks as well, isn't he? So
Yeah, I mean, I don't think his options are that many, and he is looking for that width, obviously. So he's playing those
you've
guys.
got Donovan.
Simeone. Hmm?
Not got Donovan. Is he out of favour? Donovan? Or
For some reason, he's out of favor. Yeah, I'm not sure what's up with Landon Donovan. If he's requested a move, or if something else has been up, or if he's just not. I don't think he really. I think he did really well at the end of last season. I don't think he got off to the best start of this one. But we'll see what they can do against BTEC. If we have a look at BTEC's formation, Ian's switched it around a little bit again. So I hope I've done this right. I think Ian seems to be the kind of my my main victim of mistakes, but I'm sure he'll correct me if there's anything wrong.
you
Um,
can't really complain too much. That's I mean, it's one of the strongest formations on the game, isn't it? I mean, for me, it was a part of that. That was the formation I played on my big run last year, but it's also the formation that last three times I played it, I've lost. Um, so he's got. I mean, we're kind of going over the same things, but talking about how good the kind of defensive players are at BTEC, and the issue has always been getting the goals. I think myself, like a few other people mentioned, are glad that Agahawa's back in the lineup.
mhm,
Um, I'm also a fan of Adilson, which I know gets a bit of flack every now and again.
mhm,
Pizarro does have form of having really good Super League seasons. So I mean, similar to Henri, he can be fantastic. He can be pretty average. He's had a good
mhm.
start to the season,
Yeah,
considering.
he's got
Um,
four goals already. So
yeah, but the other thing you could say is that he's let um, people in Zaggy go to Swindon relatively cheap last season, and I'd probably start him ahead of Pizarro. So yeah, Ian's I believe hinted that he might have solved his striker problems for next season, but it'd be interesting what is he has he give up on this season? But I don't
well,
know.
we'll see. One thing I was interested in, has he ever has he just like murked anyone like a 5-1 or something? Well, he beat Swindon 4-0, I guess, at the end of last season. But apart from, I was trying to see if he's had like a big old win, like a big sort of massive like just smacking someone around the head. I mean, 4-2 against Hooligans is not what I was looking for. There's just really just that 4-0 victory, that one, which is something that would worry me if I was a manager. Not so much the
If
individual.
you're doing the right thing, you think that every now and again everything should click,
You should
and that
have you
doesn't
should
seem to.
have a couple of like sort of pretty impressive wins along the way, especially with the kind of players at his disposal. But I mean, maybe that's still to come. I mean, he's still still tinkering a little bit, and maybe this formation will be the one that'll start bringing in the results. And to be fair, not played badly, just conceded, yeah, just conceded. He was doing pretty well up until that Chutley game. Then all of a sudden the goals have just started raining in. I mean, the Arsley game was a tough
Four on the
one,
bounce, isn't it?
but
That's the bad run.
yeah, yeah. So, but we'll see. And he's obviously got Dragons away next. It's a run of 4 away games, which is not really what you want if you're in a bit of a rough patch in terms of form. And then he's got Midlothian to come back to. Then Hornets away.
Yeah.
Then Ardsley. It's not the
What I would
easiest games
say
he's
though,
got
that
coming up.
what I would say, looking at that though, he's got Sloss tonight, he's got Dragons next week, Midlothian at home, and then Hornets away.
Mm,
You mean that they're four teams, the three teams away are at the bottom of the league. So you think if there's teams you can go away to and get points, they might
hmm
be the ones. And then you've got to back yourself to win your home games. So and obviously
Just 12
I know
points,
this,
clearly.
yeah, but I mean I know the Scots are flying high, but I mean things could turn around. This tonight could be a big the start of something special for BTEC.
It could be,
Um,
could be.
or or it could be the same as usual.
I mean,
But
Rob reckons I've jinxed it. Probably get it tonight. Nice one. Well, we'll see. There's a lot of predictions coming in already. Alf says 2-1 away win. Swindon 2-0 home win. Hodgie 3-2 away. Kieran says a 2-2. Ryan. It could go both ways.
not,
What do you reckon?
yeah, not so terrible. 1-2 BTEC win. 2
Let's
1.
have a look. Um, Good early start for Sloths. Balak of all
Very good.
people.
Yeah,
he
getting the
obviously
form he had last season back.
he obviously had a run last season where he scored like 6 and 7 or something like that, and then was completely anonymous and relatively useless both before and after. But he's chosen the right time to find his shooting boots. Obviously, being included in that central midfield role tonight.
It's
Pizarro pulling one back just
unbelievable.
before half time.
Unbelievable. I would say now that Sloss, as per you, I mean, it looked like to me on the text commentary were the best team in that for 44 minutes, and then BTEC with has got, I mean, smash and grab at the end. But then you look at the stats, and for all the text commentary, Sloss haven't created anything. And
No, it looked a little bit. A little
oh,
bit not so good. An assist for Duff and a good performance by Yepes. Obviously, Balak getting the goal, Ndiaye getting an 8 as well. Not much out of Crespo. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with Crespo. He just doesn't like it. Gets a couple of 8s. His stats are unbelievable. Yeah, how is he scoring one goal? I don't know. I don't know.
if he comes to Phoenix next year, I mean, I put a nice proposition to Rob. I think a mutually beneficial proposition to Rob. If he comes to Phoenix next year, he will score goals. And I think the two players that would go the other way would also massively improve the Sloths. But I mean, that's up to Rob. If the ball's in his court on that one. But I think Crespo's had his head turned when he realised Phoenix were interested. Um,
Mm. Well, there's a lot of there's obviously only half a season almost until the big Super League transfer window opens up again. So there could be some deals going on already, but we'll see when the time comes. Um, there's a couple of positives here from BTEC. I mean, the positive is that Nesta and Ferdinand have had pretty much nothing to do. Unfortunately, they're only getting 6s in return for their efforts for conceding, probably impacted by conceding one goal from one chance. Buffon also only getting a 6. Contra doing quite well. Milevski, the midfield is not really functioning that well. Agahawa was also not a little bit, but they are up against like a kind of a similar-ish formation, maybe kind of canceling each other out a little bit. But Agahawa, Edilson, Dyer,
yeah, I mean,
I don't
Ian will
know
be
what's the
disappointed.
solution.
I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. But Ian will look at that and he'll look at going away to Sloth and you'll look at the 11 he's puts out and you think, hang on, I reckon I should be absolutely hammering these. And as you said, it never looked like he was going to be hammering him. They've got they've got the goal at the end of the half to bring them level. I mean, they've got a fair chance of winning it second half, but Ian would definitely be looking at a away game against Sloth and thinking I should be going there and putting 3. I mean, this is Somerset Sloth, who, you mean, for all the good players, and for all the hard work that Rob does, they consistently get beat and
Mm.
consistently get beat by big numbers. So Ian, if he wants to be a top 6 side with BTEC, which I know he does, he should be looking at putting 3 or 4 past him, and it's just not working.
Yeah.
And as you said, I can't put my finger on it, and I don't think you can either.
No, no idea. No idea. Maybe it's time to go all out attack or something. Who knows? Anyway, Alf says, who's the lenient ref? It's Eddie Lenny, who's apparently letting people away with murder, according to Alf. He thinks there could be a red card in the second half. Let's kick off and see what happens if there's any red cards, penalties, or any other dramatic action to add to the 4 combined shots we had in the, in the first half.
Dielson's name mentioned a couple of times. Duff
Yeah,
on the attack.
I had a couple of good chances at the beginning of the half BTEC, but it's Kessman who gets the goal for Sloths. Is that their second shot on target in the game? I don't know.
Maybe second or third. But it looks like Sloths are just about on top.
Just about on top. So BTEC definitely needs to find something. Yep is trying, Contra trying,
Oh,
Pizarro trying, Ferdinand trying. No, it
oh,
stays 2-1, a home win for Sloths.
well
And
done, Rob.
a bit of an unusual one. Sloths picking up 3 points. But yeah, for the second time this year, Sloths run out winners, Balak and Kessman. Uh, I mean, I
Ian's
don't
going to
know.
be fuming when he
I,
sees
I don't know if you fucking fuming if I was Ian. just been, been this four games in a row. I mean, as I said, you don't have the answers. I don't have the answers. That's 4 games in a row where BTEC have just been bent over and barrymore basically. there's, there's no other way you can other way you can put it with a trillion offsides and I don't know, a bit of a champing. Yeah, well, two shots, 2 goals. That is usually what is referred to as a champing. I suppose BTEC didn't have that many hundreds of shots, but still, I would say it's a champing. If you have 2 shots on, if the opponent has 2 shots on target, they score both of them, and you lose the game. For me, that's a champing. Whether it's a mini champing or a big champing, it's still a champing. Surprised to see Nesta and Buffon getting sixes. I mean, it's they've almost got
it.
perfect game. Rio Ferdinand's almost got a perfect game in terms of his completion ratio of passing, of winning tackles, of winning headers, and he gets a six.
Well, lost his man for the goals. You've got to think, I don't know. I don't know how the game engine works when it comes to ratings. That's why I don't really trust them when it comes to picking people for team of the week, which is why I stay out of it. But yeah, Buffon having an absolute nightmare there, which is in essence what's cost in the game.
Yeah,
Um,
to be honest, it's the fourth game in a row. I think that like 9 out of 11 or 10 out of 11 of his players have 7 and 8s, and he's lost all of them.
yeah,
That's pretty
well,
harsh.
that's. I mean, it's 5 defeats on the bounce as well. BTEC Troopers. They might be. I don't know. I just don't know the answer
No,
really.
it's
It's he'd be tearing his hair out. That mohawk will be like is
the Mohawk is gone already. He says it
has it.
was he says it was a cut, but there might have been some tearing action going on there as well. However, having said that, having had a bit of a what was going on there kind of moment, Sloths with a really solid performance in terms of ratings. This is by far the best Sloths performance I remember seeing ever.
The worst player on the pitch.
And the worst
Who's the
player
worst?
on the pitch is Crespo getting a to be
um,
honest, I don't recall seeing. They might have had it. I might be exaggerating here, but I don't recall a better Sloss performance in terms of the results, in terms of the of the stats of the players. Damien Duff obviously delivering the goods down the left hand side. Yepes being very very dominant in defence. They're winning far more tackles and headers than he is than Nesta and Ferdinand. Very very solid there in the eye as well, doing a reasonably good job. Burns as well. They're all very very solid at the back, and obviously a big part of keeping BTEC to just that one goal. Taibbi having a good game as well, and then they're actually getting the goal. So Kessman getting a goal, is that his first or yeah, his first for? He's been awful as well for Sloths. So that's his first goal of the season for them, after joining
very
from.
low.
Hmm?
Looking at his morale's very low,
Yeah, I think
which
it
is
was. I mean,
generally means they never score. But he's gone against the groove tonight. I'm over
yeah,
the moon for Rob. Really, he's stuck at it. He's got he's got his majority of his best players in the best positions, and he's pulled off a scalp there against one of the pre Super League favourites. I think that was what a lot of
Yeah, I
people
think
thought.
I mean full credit to Rob. I think especially in this season he's not done too much in terms of changing the formation, but he's every week he's had a little bit of a tweak in terms of like swapping players around and changing this guy for that, and sometimes it's worked out and sometimes it hasn't. But obviously you kind of need to do that when you're down at the bottom. I think that's we spoke about it before, and Fife quite rightly pointed out that he gets criticized if he changes things and he gets criticized if he doesn't. I think the key to it is this kind of, not the key, but I think the way that will receive the most respect in the community or amongst the other managers is this gradual change. Yeah, that instead of going, oh, 3-4-3 didn't work, so I'm going to go 5-0-5, or oh, I'm going to go with this exact same formation week in week out. Those things are maybe the ones that you could criticize that if that was actually the case for anyone. I don't know what if it was, but if that was the case, you could criticize that. I think the way out of it is what Rob's trying to do here as well, or certainly the way that where you would say, okay, this guy is still taking it seriously. He's still trying to manage the team out of a tough time. Yeah, by tweaking little things here and there, you find a formation, you see what players play well, and you swap around to those that don't, unless like your strikers and you're just fucking stuck with
Yeah,
Crespo.
I'd even
So
add to that and say is that you might have a quick glance at who you're playing next week, and every now and again you might change your formation for your opposition. But for 5 out of 6, 4 out of 5 games, you shouldn't really care who your opponent is. You should be picking the formation for your team. You mean that means putting your best players in the best positions, kind of thing. Every
yeah,
now
because
and
you,
again,
you need a you
you
need a
might
team
not.
that can win games for you consistently, not just who can pull off like one-off results. You know what I mean? I think that's what Midlothian, if you can come out with any criticism against Midlothian, that's what they tried to do in the first 2 games of the season, and obviously it sucked. Yeah, and then after that they've gone with a more solid formation, and that's given them much better results since then. So we'll see what Rob's. I mean, it was an interesting game. I feel sorry for Ian for getting fucked again with with the result, but well done to Rob for sticking with it and getting a result in this one. Next up, we've got a game that guarantees goals. Did you know that, Ryan?
I've
uh,
not been that active on Twitter the last couple of weeks, but I did notice you mentioned that earlier. Kieran has guaranteed goals.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean, the comment was try to keep this one out, Fifey. I think it was, and Fifey's gone with the same formation as last time. A couple of changes. So I think Matt Holland is out. I think Pancaro's in. He's got Ronaldo in playing. I think he wasn't playing, and the rest of them have kind of shifted about a little bit. So we've got Oliveira out on the left. We've got Seedorf there. Um, Cambiaso was man of
yeah,
the match in the last one, or did well in the last one, I think. So yeah, I mean, it worked okay for Swindon so far. This new formation.
it was all right. I think it's getting there. Um, it's you mean I like that Oliveira, Clivert, Ronaldo all in attacking roles. Yeah, I think it's an improvement on what Fifey was doing. I still think there's a little bit of a way to go. Maybe not as gung ho as what he's going. Whether he's in his mind, he's thinking, I want to try and make these wide wingers work. That's something which I've tried to do several times and in the Super League, and it just never has worked. So I mean, although we saw an improvement from Fifey last week, we kind of saw the same result. Well, I mean,
Yeah, he still
so
lost. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, we'll see what happens. But I mean that colour I think isn't so bad. Eki Mendez is okay at the back. Stayed off. Cambiasso, Foy, they're all right. And then he's got a good line.
Hmm.
Pancaro, I'm not convinced with. Neither am I convinced with Ebieda or Oliveira out wide on that left hand side. But I suppose it's what you've got at your disposal. Um, so we'll see how he gets on. And I mean, and he's up against some team, isn't he, tonight? So it could be
Yeah,
a tough night for him.
could be a tough one. Well, we'll see. Kieran's obviously not. He's not holding back in terms of attacking here. He's gone with
One at the back.
he's got one at the back. He's got Turam at the back. Davidson, Sorocinski in front of them. So up against the front five of of Swindon, he's got 3 guys there. But then he's obviously pouring forward with Larsson, with Van Nistelrooy, with Romeo Lisadebi. I think on paper it's obviously risky to go with just David Sorocinski and Turam at the back up against the front five of Fifey, but it's difficult, I think, to see Ehiog and these guys stopping those front four guys that Churchtown have. Maybe not stopping them completely, but I'm not saying that's necessarily going to guarantee the result. But as we spoke about last week, you need to score on average 4 goals, probably. Realistically, you need 4 goals to beat Kieran because he scores 3 regardless.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting if Ivy has that in him tonight.
Yeah, it's I don't know. He gets it to work, Kieran, doesn't he? I mean, it's for me, it looks a bit batshit crazy what he's doing tonight. He's got some world class players in there: Van Nistelrooy, Ferguson, Davids, Robin, Sharam at back, and Khan in there. And then he's got some. I mean, Alistair Derby, Romeo, whatever we'll call him,
Hmm.
and Mike Duff as a winger. You might not think, that top level, but they're mixed in around some absolute ballers. So, and it looks like a mad formation, and he is absolutely going for it, and it's a dangerous one. A few weeks ago, I'd have said this is something which you can afford to take this risk against Swindon. Maybe not as much now, but I'd still I'd still fancy him to score 3 or 4 goals tonight.
Yeah, well,
You said, did you alluded to the average goals last week? Is he just 1 goal short of 4 a game or 3 a game?
yeah, he's got 20. He's
Um,
got 29 goals in 10 games. So, and that was the thing, wasn't it? He beat who was it? He beat 4-3 or something like that. Did he not beat BTEC or someone like I can't remember who he beat. And we kind of spoke about it. 4-2, yeah, against BTEC, yeah. So you can score 2 and it's all fine, yeah. But you're still gonna get beat. You can Chudley managed it. Chudley managed to score 4 and beat him. Yeah, Hooligans scored 3 and still lost. Valen scored 2 and lost. So yeah, it's a tricky team to be up against when they're on form. He says 5-3, so he reckons Kieran's going to score 3, but he's going to score 5. Ian says a 2-2. Alf says 3-1 and Robin to score. And Ryan, do you think there's going to be goals, isn't there? I mean, it'll be disappointing if there's not
yeah,
goals in this one.
I'll go for a 2-3.
2-3. Well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll kick off the first half and see who gets the better of it. If it's the attacking forces of Churchtown, or if Swindon will manage to somehow contain them. I
It's
mean,
all blue and white, isn't it?
they've had a lot of chances already. Churchtown, to be honest, it was kind of the same in many of their games. Um, but
Not
somehow
scored
they've
yet.
uh, they've not scored, and it was a little bit the same that problem that Valen had last week. They also had. Oh, there's Romeo, but anyway, Valen had the similar problem in the game. I think it was Valen they played last week, wasn't it? And there's Henrik Larsson with the second. Um,
Jesus, he's gonna have. I reckon he's over 15 shots on target at half time. Over 15 shots on goal at least. It just
15 shots on
relentless.
goal, 7-8 on target,
It's
maybe.
relentless, isn't it?
Uh, well, 13 and 6. It was close, not quite, but 13 shots on target. 5 feet. I mean, 4 shots, 4 on target. If it wasn't because he'd conceded 2, then that wouldn't be a bad return for a first half. 7s and 6 is not really. Um, they don't have the ball. They don't get the ball at all. How does that work out? Well, like that. Um, I guess Mark Vivian Foe's not done too badly. Ehiok missing too many tackles. They're obviously desperately missing Montero in there. They're kind of big defensive signing. Uh, Oliveira. I mean, they're not doing too badly. They're just not doing enough because they're not having the ball enough, really, are they?
Yeah, not enough. I feel we're disappointed. I know he's supremely confident in his team, so you'll still think he's going to win this 5-3, no doubt. But yeah, he's got to be disappointed that all 6s and 7s. Let's be honest. Watching the game, it never really looked like Swindon were going to score. So where he's going to get 5 from second half or 3 as a bare minimum um, is not it's not looking likely, is it?
No, and I mean Churchtown, maybe considering the amount of maybe it's because they've missed so many of them. There's a bunch of 7s in there as well, despite having such a dominant first half. Mike Duff doing a half decent job. Ruud van Nistelrooy getting an assist.
Yeah, solid performance. I mean, again, it's the kind of, if you look at the text and you also watch the game, Kieran, from the second that game kicked off, would have known he's going to win that game. You could just see it straight away. You can tell when your team's on form, and they just came out like a steam train, and they were just knocking on the door, knocking on the door, knocking on the door, knocking on the door, and eventually, Romeo put it in the net. And yeah, it looks like a formality now, which I hope I'm wrong. Only because they've got that kit. They're such a strong team, Churchtown, and you don't like them getting on that head of steam. But I'll be very surprised if anything changes second half.
If there's a way back in, yeah, definitely. I mean, Neil asked how many tackles have Swindon successfully made? 50%. So they've made 9 successful tackles in the first half, which is not a lot. But to be fair, there wasn't. I mean, Churchtown haven't made that many more. I mean, that's the same as their defense. They've just had a couple of tackles from some players further up the pitch. But they will kick off the second half. We'll see if Swindon can find a way back in, or if Churchtown will continue their strong form. They could obviously have run out of steam, but that's not been a problem they've had in the past, and it doesn't look like it, to be honest. That's David's first goal of the season. Oh, Robin with a goal. So Alf was correct about that. And
Jesus.
and there's an injury to Ronaldo there. So we'll put Simone Inzaghi on. He seems like an adequate replacement. And that was Van Nistelrooy making it 5.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's Van Nistelrooy got one disallowed. That would have been his 6th, obviously. I think a 6-goal victory. 6-goal victory would be a Super League record in the current iteration, but it stays 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Absolutely dominant. Absolutely nothing from Swindon. It's a absolutely class performance from Churchtown. Perfect performance away at Swindon. Second half, just piled on the pressure, piled on the goals, and the Devils had absolutely zero response. And we were talking about it there. It looks like he's lucky to come away only getting beat 5-0, which is a ridiculous statement.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely with that goal for Van Nistelrooy being disallowed, it could have been easily have been 6-0, obviously. Constanzo getting a 5, Mark Vivian Foe getting an 8. They won a bunch more tackles in the second half, but they absolutely also needed to, because Churchtown were relentless with the pressure in the second half. Romeo getting a 10. He's probably a little bit of someone we don't hear so much about usually. That's a very strong performance from that Churchtown side, to be honest. Oliver Kahn hardly had. I mean, yeah, he didn't have much to do, to be honest. But in the end, he got an 8, probably for the clean sheet. Most convincing victory of the season so far.
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, result never in doubt from kickoff. Absolutely relentless performance. I mean, he's definitely going to be the happiest manager of the night.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned it a little bit in the Midlothian Dragons game. If you're up against a stronger team, do you try something a little bit different, or do you maybe consider your options a little bit, or do you just go like for like and maybe go in sort of, I mean, it's not exactly like for like, but
You've got to be tighter.
I think if you're bottom, not bottom, if you're down in the bottom 3 and you're going out thinking that you're going to outscore Churchtown, then that's probably, I mean, it's a fair enough. I mean, everything is valid. I think that's just uh, a bigger chance that something else could have perhaps been successful than trying to outscore the top scoring team in the league when you've not been scoring that many goals so far this season. So, but it is what it is, and I'm sure Swindon
You're
will
not
come
going to
back.
outscore him. I mean, that's it. I think everyone in the league's got a kind of. I think most people in the league know that they're not going to outscore Swindon. Therefore, Churchtown even there.
Yeah. I mean,
so yeah. Then we don't try. We try and stifle their attack, and hit them on the break and do something a little bit different. Generally play more central, definitely not wide wingers. It definitely wasn't the game for that. I like that Fife is trying a more attacking kind of route, and more attacking kind of formation, but tonight maybe wasn't the idea, the best. night to do it.
Either way, that does Churchtown a lot of favors in terms of goal difference and goals scored. They're obviously on 34 now, so they're breaking that 3 goal a game average, which will be great news for whoever's playing them next. That
Me.
they that they meet us aside in such good in such good in such good form. The worst thing is that I have to listen to the hypocrisy every week from those in the know. Yeah, but I mean, there's nothing we can there's nothing we can do. I mean, if teams are losing 5-0 and they're down at the bottom, we can't say that was an amazing job. You know what I mean? It can be
Look,
hypocrisy or whatever,
Stifey's
but
received
what else
so
can
much advice.
what else
That's
can
that's the other thing.
what else can we say?
Stifey,
I mean,
he gets advice from us every week, and he just doesn't listen to it.
you could do worse than checking Al's DM. Right. Anyway, someone was dominant in the air, or Kieran was dominant in the air. Anyway, Neil was very happy about everything. We've got you up in the last game of the evening. So yeah, I mean, it seems that I've just completely given up on the schedule, and it's just going to be 2 hours every time. So that's fine. So we've got you
That's
up
probably me.
against.
I know I go off on a tangent. I do apologise.
That's absolutely fine. I think it's been 2 hours since forever anyway. But either way, here we go. We've got Bolton Phoenix at home to Chudley Cannons. Slightly new tactic, a little bit of a personnel change. Fernando Torres is in. I think Montella's injured. Is that right?
Yeah, bad injury. Well, not bad injury, but 3 weeks Montella, which is frustrating. As he's been so good this season, felt I needed to get the 2 strikers up there as a kind of replacement. So I thought I'd switch back to it's a modified version of a 4-1-3-2. Delighted, on the other hand, to get Zinoni and Zambrata back, who've both been injured for a couple of weeks. I've dropped Gary Neville again, which I know is a little bit of a contentious thing when I do that, but at least I'm not playing him at wing back. So yeah, it's it's one of those. I think that's there or thereabouts my strongest lineup at the moment. Obviously, Montella would be up front with Raul. Beyond that, I think that's near enough my strongest 11, all in positions they can play. Zinoni would probably, if I was away from home, Zinoni would probably be playing in the middle of that midfield 3 without an arrow. But at home, just let them go for it, and Navs are on in the middle of the park. So
yeah, interesting to see Fernando Torres in action. Obviously, just had 1 or 2 kind of very brief sort of appearances, or 1 brief appearance so far this season, but already looking sort of relatively decent stats wise. So it'll be interesting to see what he can deliver. I was going to question you on Gary Neville, but looking at the form of both Stephen Henshaw and Jaap Stam, they're both difficult. They're going to have to play themselves out of a job, aren't they? Really, for poor Gary Neville to come back in. I mean, his 733 averages and 677 in the last 3 is poor compared to what those guys have been putting up. So,
and what I will say is, I don't know if it's just coincidence, and it probably is just coincidence, but the games which Gary Neville has started, we tend to lose. And you mean that's how it's worked. We lost 5 games this season. I think Gary Neville started all 5 of them. So yeah, sometimes you've got to think about it, not just at the stats and not just at the ratings, but am I winning with this player in the team? And it hasn't been his most productive season so far. And Hornshaw and Stam, as you said, have both been pretty good.
Yeah, eights for them all along. Dede and Sambrota a little bit less impressive than they were last season, but still very strong. I mean, high 7, almost 8 averages. Just a little bit short in terms of the contributions of goals and assists, but they have been doing relatively well for you this season. But that's perhaps the difference in terms of the points that you've picked up. That especially Sambrota has not really been. I mean, he had 12 assists in 25 last season. He's only got 1 in the first 9, so a little bit less of a return from his perspective, and he's also had an injury to contend with as well. So maybe more to come from him, and interesting to see how it goes with your Montella less striking formation there as well.
Yeah, it was an attempt. It was a kind of a toss-up whether I put Figo up front or Kewell up front with Raul, and I didn't really want to go with 2 left footers. which is and then I've tried out Figo on the home save up front, and he didn't really have the magic he sometimes does. That's the issue with having Luis Figo. I really like him on the wing and in an AMC role, but if I'm not playing a formation with wingers or an AMC, then I'm unlikely to pick him really, 'cause I don't think he really works at centre midfield or as a striker.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. We look at what you're up against. So Chudley Cannon have changed their formation up again.
Mm.
They've gone with kind of a it's a little bit of an artsy formation, but they've obviously got Gallardo and Estebaria in AMC roles rather than in the attacking roles, and slightly shorter running arrows on the DMCs. A pretty solid formation, I think, from Chudley. They've Amoroso didn't do particularly well, so we've got the Gallardo out on the left hand side there. Harasimovic comes in the middle, and Estebaria stays on the right hand side. Buma, Agat, Peter Luchin comes in for Mark Kerr, who didn't really do particularly well. Peter Luchin, I don't think have we seen him at all this season? No, did we see him?
Mm.
Very infrequent last year. He was on a couple of times. Doesn't look too bad, to be honest. I mean,
No,
could be. It's like one of Alf's mystery men here.
yeah, it's a solid formation. Scott's always, he's always going to be a tough game. Um, I think, yeah, he's got Bowman and Agat, who I think are both dangerous down the wings. Van Bommel's, kind of really solid in that midfield. Um, yeah, it's one of those. You never really know what to expect, but you know it's going to be good when it comes to formation.
Hmm.
It's quite the opposite of Fifey, really. You mean you never know what to expect, but you know it's going to be terrible. I can't help myself sometimes, but
Neither can he, by the looks of it.
uh,
A few words flying backwards and forwards there. I mean, I think it looks like a solid formation from Chudley. I think, I mean, they are set up in a decent way to kind of counter your midfield three. I think they've got. I mean, decent
did I
players in
release
there,
that?
but they're maybe
One
just
sec.
lacking a little bit in terms of quality as well. It is still obviously a team he inherited, and he hasn't had that much luck in with getting transfers in. I think he's still got one or two left over from the summer that he didn't manage to get in that we're still working on. So we'll see. He's definitely got room for improvement in some positions there. But whether there are players available is then obviously, as you know yourself, if there's the 300 and whatever 70 best players already in the Super League, so to find someone else is maybe a little bit can be a little bit challenging at
What I
times.
would say
So
is there's been quite a few decent players who've left the Super League, um, who may say I think left without much kind of fanfare. I know everyone was a bit like shocked and surprised when Barthez left from Astor out of the Super League, and
yeah, you had
um,
Dalmat leaving
I
as
think
well, didn't you?
yeah, Dalmat, but I offered him out at least, and no one had any interest. And I mean, I wanted the
Strange.
money. And then the other one, which I think you mentioned to me last week, and then when I inquired about him, is Franca, who's a
Never.
worldie on a lot of my saves, and he
Yeah.
Andrea kind of let him go without a kind of a mention. So
Yeah. He was just surplus to requirements, obviously, with Saha, Saviola, and Shevchenko. And I think maybe he had the possibility of getting rid of him early on, but I don't think he got any kind of takers for him. And then he was trying. I mean, he was sold like even before the first transfer window. But for some reason, I think the deal fell through, and then he set up a different cash deal for him. So that deal had been arranged like a long time ago. Did he go to Argentina? Is that maybe why? Did he go to Argentina somewhere? That thing where you can only buy players like once a year or something like that. But either way, Franca, yeah, definitely another one. So yeah, so there could be some. I mean, obviously it'll be a little bit early maybe to try and bring some of them back, but that could be something to be looked at down the line. Obviously, if any of them wanted to return to the Super League. Anyway, I'm gonna presume you're going to go with a home win. Hodgie says 2-1 away win, going with the Yorkshire theme there. Fifey says 2-0 away win. Alf says 1-1. Kieran's backing you for a 3-1 win. So we'll kick off the first half and we'll see who is right in terms of predictions. Alf reckons Rossini is going to pinch a goal tonight. It's Fernando Torres with
yeah,
the with the opener. A little bit surprising, perhaps. Young Fernando already making his mark.
18 years old.
Oh, my goodness, and here comes Raul with the second. The two strikers definitely doing a bit of a job on the Chudley defenders tonight.
Come on, Bolton, that's a great start. It looks like Chudley are creating chances though, so we need to make sure we keep it tight.
Yeah, Stam picks up a yellow for a foul on Rossini there. That could be prove tricky in the second half if he continues to put the pressure on. Estepari
Ooh,
with a
I
good
feel like,
chance as well.
feel like we're lucky not to have conceded there, and then we've gone and nicked a goal as well. So,
Oh
oh my
my
God.
goodness.
Oof, oh, there we are. Fernando
uh,
Torres doing bits. Oh,
that's
I'm delighted with that first half. I mean, I feel harsh on Scott really because it's been a relatively even game,
I was
except
gonna say that is harsh considering that. I mean, there's one shot, a total amount of shots. There's one in it, and somehow you're 4 goals up. That's quite a spectacular first half return, to be completely honest.
oh,
Yeah,
something's worked. Something's worked. I don't know what. The two defenders are on yellows, which is a little bit worrying, but we've got a 4 goal cushion, and I don't think, apart from against Churchtown, I don't think I've ever conceded 4 goals. So I think I'm relatively confident. Um, yeah, I'll be honest, I'm a little bit speechless at the fact that we're 4-0 up at half time and in what seemed like a relatively even game.
I was gonna say. I mean, yeah, I don't really know, to be honest. I'm kind of looking at it, going, what can I pick out here? But I don't really know, to be honest. You've just scored on 4 of your 8 shots, 7 on target. 4 of them went in. They've had 5 on target, and not a single one went in. And yeah, it's
Casillas
difficult.
playing well for me. That's the look at it that way. Casillas has been dreadful this season overall, but he has that big game every now and again, which is, I mean, looks like he's delivering that big game tonight, which will pull his average up, and then he'll get a couple of fives next couple of weeks. So there we are. But yeah, it seems that that bit of form that's been missing seems to have turned up tonight, and let's hope it continues.
Yeah,
It's
well,
only half time. Let's hope we see it out first. But then
well, we'll kick off the second half. We'll see if, as it is with these kind of things, usually when you score 4 in the first half, then certainly in your home games, things kind of tend to settle down in the second half, or often does anyway. But we'll see if that's going to be the same in this one. Again, Chudley starts off
a
the
lot of
second half
grey and
with a
orange.
good chance, but just didn't convert it, and then it kind of dies down a little bit. I think Bolton had a couple of good chances there in sort of midway through the second half. We'll see if Chutley comes in with a kind of late surge at the end of it. That's another yellow card. I think that's your whole back line covered in yellow cards then. But yeah, kind of as it does in many home saves after a 4-0 first half, it just kind of like fizzles out a little bit in that second half. So 3 yellow cards across the back for you, Fernando Torres, with 2 goals and a 10. How do you keep him up if Montella's back next week? I don't know. I know Montella's out a little
He's
bit
definitely
longer,
not
isn't
back
he?
next week, unless next week is 3 weeks away. He's not
Well,
back.
unlikely.
I'll be delighted to keep. I'll be delighted to keep them two in the team. What a great performance! 2 goals for Torres, goal and assist for Raul. Yeah, really outstanding performance from my front line. I mean, and I've got to give credit to Casillas, an 8. Probably deserved more than that. Didn't have much to do in the second half, probably why he's only got an 8.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and my a bit of a dogged display from the defenders. I mean, they picked up yellow cards, but I'd rather them pick up yellow cards than concede goals. So
Yeah, and obviously you have got the kind of backup that should it be required, and yeah, solid 4-0 victory there. Quiet second half. I mean, Andre obviously played himself up to 7 in the second half, but I think I mean, Scott's mentioned it himself. He got it wrong. He should have kept it narrow from last week. Not happy with the performance of Agat. I think probably especially Baumer also only getting a 6. Peter Luchin comes in and actually did a half decent performance, got a 7 in there. Hipia doing okay, but yeah, it was just that kind of goal rush in the first half that really, I mean, just sealed the deal. The second half becomes irrelevant, doesn't it, after such a first half performance? So yeah, a bit of a shame, and back to the drawing board for Chudley. They had found a little bit of form recently. At least they stopped conceding a bunch of goals, but that's obviously turned around a little bit tonight. But He'll be back. Hopefully, he'll have some of his transfers in, and then he can maybe build on that towards the rest of the season for the Cannons. We should have a look at how that impacts the league table, actually.
I think we're still in sixth, aren't we? Yeah, I know they had a little bit of a gap, and Panathinaikos won as well. Yeah. Ardsley keep the top spot. Churchtown pile the goals in and keep the pressure on, and Midlothian are now up to third. The Scots will be jumping up and down. I mean, you look at if they only conceded 8 goals, Valon, and they're down in fourth, which is crazy. It's the two teams which have conceded the least in fourth and fifth. So it might be the season of scoring goals rather than tight defenses.
Yeah, and I mean, good. I think it's good to see some goals. I think it's good. It's good entertainment. So it's nice to see that our teams in there, but that are doing that. But it's also, of course, it's important not to lose your games, and the easiest way to not losing is by not conceding. If you don't concede any goals, you also don't lose. And if you're looking at it, I mean, Andreas will not be unhappy. 11 games played, you've won 7, drawn 2, and lost 2. You've got 22 goals for and 8 against, and you're fourth. Yeah, that's a little bit. The position is the only thing that's disappointing with that, because otherwise it's a solid performance. Parmethanike is finding a bit of form there again, so Maka will be happy with that. Yourself will be happy with your team's performance, obviously, and you're keeping a bit of a gap down to Hooligans, who had that 2-2 draw. Astor, Chudley, I mean, they're not miles off, but they need to start picking up the points now. The same for BTEC. Hornets, again, I mean, not unlucky. Unlucky is a strong word, but you know, they didn't have the best of it either. And then down at the bottom, we've got Dragons, we've got Swindon, and we've got Sloss. Sloss, obviously, with that important win for them. I mean, 6 points. So even with Swindon now, and maybe they can move on from there depending on what fixtures they've got coming up. We can maybe have a quick look at that before we finish up for the evening. So oof, a clash at the top of the table with RC Celtic at home to Midlothian. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see if Midlothian are going to stick with what they've been successful with, or they're going to go 5 at the back again, which they have done before when they play teams that are considered superior, as they did at the start of the season against Valon and Churchtown. That'll be interesting. It'll be
Yeah,
interesting.
not too sure.
Chudley with a good chance of.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens. Sorry, I think my internet's breaking up.
I was going to say, I think you're losing your connection a little bit there. Battle of Britain. That's a bit of an exaggeration, maybe, but yeah, Chudley Cannons with a good chance of gaining some grounds on the ground on the teams above them. They play Astor, obviously, who are immediately in front of them in the table, and they'll be looking at catching up with Hooligans as well, and perhaps even with Bolton. Bolton with a tricky away game. Churchtown up next. So we'll see if you can keep them under 3 goal average. You could just score 4 again, like you did tonight, and then everything's going to be fine, obviously. BTEC, as you mentioned, they go to Dragons. They need a win. Can they be unlucky again? I have no idea. Maybe.
Probably.
We'll see. We'll see. And then Hooligans are at home to Swindon. That'll be a very interesting match, that one, to see. Hooligans, obviously, we know exactly how they will line up. Will Swindon keep their formation? Will they change something to suit the formation that Hooligans are playing? We'll have to wait and see what five he comes up with. We've got Sloths at home to Hornets, so a good chance for Sloths, I would say, with the form that Hornets have been in. There's a good chance for Sloths to pick up another 3 points here, which will pile the pressure on Swindon if they don't get a result away at Hooligans. And finally, we've got another really interesting, tough encounter. Valin United at home to Panathinaikos. It'll be interesting to see if Chris will stick with his new WM formation, and if Valin will continue with his attacking options that he's been having some success with recently. On that note, there's a chance that I've lost my.
I think I keep losing you, Martin. So I think you can hear me, but I'll just wish everyone. I wish everyone a good night, and I'll catch you during the week. I do apologise. Goodbye.
Thanks very much, Ryan. Yeah, I think the bringing the garden furniture in and everything kind of did did a bit of damage to Ryan's connection there. So, but thanks very much to Ryan for his contribution, and thanks very much to everyone for joining. Great to see that everyone turns up and has a good laugh and a bit of an interaction in the comments. Always makes for a better show. Next week's show, as if for any of you still hanging around, I'll obviously say it again afterwards. Next week's show will be pre-recorded, so I will need the tactics in by Wednesday, but it'll be detailed in your packs. The show will be recorded at some point on Wednesday or Thursday. I'm not entirely sure. It will probably just be with myself doing the commentary. So yeah, details will be in the packs, and that's pretty much it for tonight. Congratulations to our winners. Commiserations to the people who didn't get the greatest results that they were hoping for, especially Scott and Fifey. I know it's not nice to lose, and I don't want to seem like we're crapping on people on the show, but if you lose 4-0 or 5-0, then you're gonna have some rough comments. I'm sorry about that. I've been in that situation myself in the Super League, and it's never nice. So hopefully you guys can bounce back. You see the fixtures here up on the screen. I'll post them as well. I think the second half of the season fixtures should be out shortly as well. If I get some time to produce them before I go away for a little bit next weekend. Thank you very much again for watching, and I'll catch you soon.